Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Hennefin. I am the Memory Care Dementia Resources Director here for Horizon Health. What that entails is I go out and I do trainings like this for communities, for families, any kind of training, or I work with facilities and train. I also will do caregiver support, which that means I'll come in, maybe talk to you at a cafe, talk to you at your home, and talk about the struggles you have and give you pointers of what can be done. I also can work on families just training and kind of going through the process, what's next. I also run some support groups that you'll see in the back that we run here through Horizon Health. We also, the big one is Connections Cafe, and we have that, it'll be next Monday, but otherwise it's the third Wednesday. That's where you can bring your loved one to the event, and we do different activities. We try to engage the brain, and then we split off and we do some caregiver teaching and coaching while your loved one is still doing activities with our volunteers. I also do a Pearls program, which is for depression. In that I work with whoever has depression. Could be maybe somebody passed away. Maybe I just had all these things happen in my life and I just need somebody to talk to. And so we offer that program too. Those programs are a free will donation, but they are covered by the grant if you don't have anything to donate at that time. So don't worry about those things. So we're going to start today. It's Dementia 101. Feel free to ask questions. I want you to ask questions, anything that comes up. If I don't know the answer, I'll for sure get it for you, but be able to answer those questions for you, because as you're listening, you may not remember at the end. So what is dementia? What do you guys know about dementia? You hear that big word. What do you know about it? Do you want it? Okay. In the dictionary, it's a slow progressive decline in mental function, including memory, thinking, judgment, and ability to learn. Does that make much sense to you? Could you decipher that between other things? No, not really. What I need you to know, it's a structural and a chemical change. So it changes the size of the brain. If you have Alzheimer's disease, it shrinks your brain from 3 pounds to 1 pound. 3 pounds to 1 pound. Chemical changes can be like Lewy Body. It can be vascular dementia, because it's about the blood supply and your chemicals are changing in your brain. Usually occurs in people older than 65, but I will tell you that I know a gentleman right now that I've been working with. He is 23, and he has a form of dementia. So again, it just depends on the kind of dementia. You can have it early. It also depends on your lifestyle. Most conditions that cause dementia cannot be reversed. There is no getting better. It's a slow progressive decline. It worsens over time, but it's just a group of symptoms. So if you thought that you had strep throat and you went to the doctor, what do they usually ask you?
Do you have a temperature?
Do you have a temperature?
How long have you had a sore throat?
How long have you had a sore throat?
Do you have a cough?
Do you have a cough? Do you have a rash? And when they see that all those symptoms are there, they do a test. With dementia, if you have that diagnosis and they say, Michelle, you have dementia, all they're saying is I have these symptoms. They're not giving me a kind. Dementia is just a group of symptoms. That's it. It's not that you have breast cancer or you have lung cancer. They haven't defined it. So a doctor is just telling you, you have these symptoms. That's it. So when you hear what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's, most people struggle with that. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. It is broken down. You took those symptoms and you figured out, I have this disease or disability. Dementia is just a group of symptoms. Does that make sense? Okay. What changes when you have dementia? It's structural changes, and they're permanent. When your brain starts shrinking, it is not going to get back. Doesn't matter what med I put you on, you're not going to get that formation back. The cells in your brain are shrinking, okay? They're dying. It's also a chemical change. Cells are producing, but they're not sending those messages because there's less chemicals to get it to the next part of your brain. You can shine at 1 minute, when it's a chemical change, and then all of a sudden you can't. And families are like, well, mom just did that this morning. Why can't she do it this afternoon? It's because those chemicals are changing and they're not transmitting the information, okay? So what you had this morning isn't processing the way it was supposed to. This morning it did, but this afternoon it's not. Those chemicals aren't there this afternoon. Dementia doesn't equal Alzheimer's disease. Doesn't equal it. It's just a group of symptoms. Just because you have these symptoms doesn't mean you have Alzheimer's. You could have, there's over 120 different kinds of dementia. And you can have 2 at once, 3 at once, 4 at once. And Alzheimer's does not equal memory problems. Just because you have Alzheimer's disease does not mean you're going to have all kinds of memory problems. Each dementia is different. If you have Alzheimer's disease with Down syndrome, you're not going to have the memory issues. You're going to have more sensory changes. So everything is different. Questions on this part so far?
So are you saying that the brain starts out like an adult is 3 pounds, and when they die?
Yes.
Then
When they die.
It's a 1 pounder.
Yep. So oftentimes I'm not a big medication person. That's one thing you'll learn about me as I train in the communities. Because if I'm giving dad this behavior med, I better make sure that part of brain is still there. It's still functioning, because oftentimes you'll see they'll put them on risperidone for something. That's a behavior med. But if it's not working, it's because the chemicals aren't taking it, or that part of the brain isn't even there. It's a little piece compared to this big piece, and how they metabolize things. So even when they put people on Namenda or Aricept, those are meds that they put people usually when they first get diagnosed. We don't always know how the brain is functioning. It's really important to know how the brain is working first before we do any medications. How do you find that out? So we're going to talk about that as we go through today, but doing like an MRI, a CT scan, also watching. I'm a big person about believing, is their reaction, their behavior, especially behavior meds, is it because of the way we approached? Is it because of the environment first? I eliminate everything I can before I even look at a med, because I don't know how the med's going to change them. Especially like if they have Lewy Body. Lewy Body, if you give them a drug, they'll act the exact opposite. So if I'm trying to give them a calm, soothing thing, they may act the exact opposite, and they may not even have a diagnosis of Lewy Body. So it's really important for us to know. Doctors won't tell you, because I'll be honest with you, if I get a diagnosis of dementia, it is something I'm not getting any better. It's not like strep throat and they can give me some medicine, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of dementia you have for them, because guess what? There's no cure. There's no cure for any of them. But as a care partner and as a person that's a family member, you need to know kind of what kind they have, because how they respond at the beginning of the disease is really important. It's really different. So that's why I try to do these educations, because it's way different. Dementia is just the umbrella. If you think of an umbrella, I'm holding it. This is all the symptoms. These are different kinds of dementias that you'll see on here. Frontal Temporal, Alzheimer's, Lewy Body, Vascular. It can be Huntington's disease. You'll see alcohol-related dementia. So we're going to talk about a few of them today, because I kind of want to give you an idea that there's so many different kinds. Okay? There are 4 truths about all the dementias. Every single 120 of them. At least 2 parts of the brain are dying at once. So 2 parts of the brain are dying at once. Usually it is memory and something else, but not always. So it could be my ability to hold a fork, my fine motor skills are dying, and my ability to filter through task and know what to do next. It could be my ability to not respond impulsively, and my ability to walk. But 2 things are dying at once, okay? It keeps changing and getting worse. All the dementias get worse. The quickness of the disease depends sometimes on the person, but it also depends on which kind. And we'll talk about that. It's not curable or fixable. You put me on Namenda, I'm still going to get worse. You put me on Aricept, I'm still going to get worse. You're not going to see my symptoms continue. it's gonna mask my symptoms. So it's kind of like putting on a Band-Aid on an owie so the little kid doesn't notice that you have an owie. When you take it off, it eventually heals and they don't see it. But it's those Menda and Aricept are putting a Band-Aid on it. And when you take it off, guess what? You're gonna see the scar. You're gonna see there's still changes. And the results in death, all of them are terminal. There is no dementia right now that's curable, okay? Questions so far? There are 10 early warning signs. The first one is memory loss, new or recent information. So this is where you're gonna see somebody repeating stories over and over and over and over again. Hey, did I tell you about this? Your mom, you just told me that 5 minutes ago. And they tell you again. They tell the same stories. Or they say, well, did I tell you this? I can't remember if I told you this. And you're like, well, 50 times. That's a big one. They forget appointments or events. You didn't tell me that I was supposed to do this. Or the exact opposite. They're so worried about forgetting, they keep calling. They have difficulty remembering taking their medications. You'll hear a lot about my grandmothers. I had a grandmother that had Parkinson's, but she really had Lewy Body. And she would take her medicine in the morning. She had a little pill container. The alarm went off. She took her meds. By afternoon, when she still wasn't feeling right, what do you think she did? Took more meds, because if I don't feel right, and I don't remember I just took them, I took more, and she was overdosing herself. You'll see that a lot in the early signs because they don't know. They don't know. Oh, I have a sore on me, and they don't tell anybody, and all of a sudden it gets infected because they didn't know. They didn't feel that pain sometimes. They have problems learning new things, a new telephone. Oh my gosh, those new kitchen gadgets. There's tons of them out there right now. They would have huge difficulties figuring that out, and they get flustered. Don't get it for me. Problems with familiar tasks. They neglect or forget how to perform usual routines. So if you think about it, I may miss a button on my shirt, and when you correct me, it's fine. Or I may send out the water bill, but I didn't put a stamp on my envelope. They're forgetting little pieces that you need to make that whole process work. My grandmother eventually stopped remembering to put chicken broth in her homemade soup. She's made these homemade noodles for years. It's the best soup in the world. And all of a sudden she serviced it and there's no chicken broth. And she didn't realize it. And when you corrected her, did it work? No, she was mad. This is the same soup I make forever. Not quite. They neglect or forget about allowing food to spoil and clutter or overwhelm. My grandmother had 4 refrigerators, and you could walk in and smell the stench. You go in and there'd be milk, and it was so chunky it would not even move, and she would drink it. They don't realize that. By the way, people that have dementia cannot smell rotted food. So that's oftentimes why you have the issue that there's so much icky nasty. It's because of that. They collect everything. They don't, I gotta throw away dirty napkins. It all of a sudden becomes clutter. They hoard food and other items, so they go to the restaurant, they take home all the good old crackers and everything. Now, do some of us do this? Yes, this would be something that's not normal. They never did it before. Some of us are hoarders. We do that automatically.
Oh, good.
Yeah, me too. I worried about that one. But sometimes we do that. They ruin household tools or equipment. They start taking things apart, hitting it when it doesn't work, okay? And they neglect or overfeed a pet. They used to be able to take care of their pet forever, and now they're overfeeding it. They have problems word finding, trouble finding the right word for the right situation. Okay, so bed. I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. Bed could be bathroom. They have trouble keeping up with a conversation, so they check out. I'm a fast talker. A lot of people are. And you're sitting having a conversation with someone, and there's 4 of you. They may stop talking, folks, because they can't keep up. Or they think, they're talking about me. I do not want to go to play cards anymore. They're talking about me. And you say, no, honey, they're not. No, they're not. Yep, they are. No, they're not. They respond inappropriately to a conversation. I told the other group that I trained this morning, my grandmother was religious. Fold your hands up this way to heaven. Down here, you're going to hell. She would go to mass and she would yell out at the priest to shut up during his sermon because she wanted to go eat pancakes at the Royal. Inappropriate. But was she true? Was he a little winded? Yeah. Did she want to go eat pancakes? Yeah. But is that what you do at church? No. Difficulty reading and spelling, but don't assume they can't read and spell. Don't assume. It depends on where the damage is in their brain. Prime example, I had a lady that lived in our Harmony houses. She said 3 words. Shut the blank up. Okay? Said it all day long. She'd fight people to get toileted, everything. But one day I had to take her to the hospital to have a blood draw. And I get there and she taps me and I go, yes? And I thought she was going to say, shut the blank up. And she goes, do you snore? And I'm like, yes, she talks. I had to get her out of that place. Yay, she has conversation with me. I'm so excited. Here there was a sign for the sleep apnea snore. And it said, do you snore? And she could read. She had lived with us for 5 months and we did not have any idea she could read. You may be surprised. They can't hold a conversation, but they can read. Okay? Confusion about what day of the week it is, month, season, or year. Confusion on where they are and how they got there. They don't want to go places because, oh my God, your daughter moved to a new home. I don't know where the bathroom is. Where do I go? What do I do? Lost driving to familiar places. I told the last group, my grandmother was supposed to meet my dad at JCPenney's in Brainerd to get a new coat. She went to the old Penny's and she drove almost all the way to Canada. Pretty big deal. And they get lost walking, especially in neighborhoods. If somebody changes the color of a house, I always turned at the yellow house. Now it's blue. Vulnerable to scams. They get a phone call. They will give away money automatically because, oh my God, my son's in jail. Choose inappropriate clothing for the weather. They may not put a coat on today. They may not have shoes on or socks. Difficult making judgments about their own safety. I don't remember the walker. I just got this new walker. I'm not going to remember it because it's not my usual routine. And I don't realize that I might trip over this pillow, so I should pick it up, and I trip and fall. They don't see the safety concerns. Safety is up to the people that take care of me. Problems making decisions without the regard for consequences. What happens if I don't put the turkey in on time tomorrow? I didn't get up. I feel like putting it at 10. Oh, I was supposed to clean the inside out? I missed those pieces. I still put the turkey in, but I forgot to clean the inside. Problems balancing their checkbook. A lot of times they'll say, I already paid that bill, and they'll get mad at businesses for asking for money because I paid it, and they really didn't. They withdraw large sums of money and start giving it away because somebody said I really need the money, or gosh, especially Publishers Clearinghouse, they will start sending and ordering nonsense. I could win. I need this money. I could win. Or churches asking for things or anything they will give. And they spend large amount of money on items they already have or don't need. My grandmother bought tons of blenders. One, she didn't know how to plug it in, so she didn't remember, so she pushed start, didn't work. Well, gosh dang it, these things are crap. And she'd go buy another one. She had tons of them. Some people buy tons of TP. Oh my God, we're gonna run out of toilet paper. You know that big thing that was on the news? And all of a sudden they have toilet paper everywhere. Or I've seen in the last few weeks when I've been talking to people that they were rinsing out their toilet paper, leaving it dry so that they could use it again. And it's happening, folks. It is very real. Constantly searching and even obsessing over things. They misplace their keys, their purse. And it's in odd places, folks. You and I could retrace. We forgot where we put our keys, we retrace. Oh yeah, it's over there. This is, they put it in the freezer. I had a lady who would slice her mattress and stuff it in her mattress. I've had people tape it onto the inside of the toilet when you lift the lid. So please be aware that they'll put them all kinds of places, okay? And when you tell them, well, gosh, you're the one that lost it. No, I didn't. You took it from me. People are stealing from me. They put things in the usual places, sugar bowls. They may become more aggressive. If I'm frustrated and I'm just flustered with everything going on and I can't process, there's a really good chance I'm going to be angry. Okay? Everybody's telling me, no, you need to do this. No, you need to do this. I'm going to get mad. I also can become the opposite and passive. Whatever. There's just nothing left for me to do. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. And then you're like, come on, we're going out. Nope. Come on, let's just watch TV. Nope. And they just sit there. So you didn't get one of the two. Extremely suspicious. They're fearful or paranoid of everything that's going on around them. Imagine how scared you'd be. If you woke up today and you notice memory loss, and you notice it's starting to get worse, how many of you would be a little paranoid or scared? Yeah, I would be. Very, very scared, because you know automatically what's going to happen. My keys are going. People are taking things. I might end up in a home, and all of a sudden your mind becomes overwhelmed, and you're even more confused because you have stress. They say or do embarrassing things. Told the other class, but I'll tell you, my grandmother, when she first started the process, wasn't quite really showing a lot of signs, but she'd look at my dad and she'd say, oh my God, Larry, look at the kahunas of that one, when they were at Walmart. As the disease progressed, she would stop my dad and say, just wait a second, and she'd go up to the lady in Walmart and say, you have the biggest kahunas I've ever seen. I just want to touch those suckers, and she would. Major changes. They're doing embarrassing things, and it's more embarrassing for you than it is for them. Mom never ate with her fingers, and now she's at Kentucky Fried Chicken, licking her fingers, pecking her nose, rubbing it on her clothes, and you're like, Mom, you've never done this. Quit it, Mom, you know better. No, they don't. They really don't. Inappropriate emotional responses to situations. They may laugh at a funeral. They may laugh if you stub a toe. They stop bathing and grooming. Why would you stop bathing and grooming?
Harder to do.
It's harder to do. Can you imagine all the steps it takes before you hop in a bath? When you go home tonight, you think about how many steps it takes to take a shower or bath. Got to grab your clothes, right? What else do you got to grab? Towel. Better have your soaps. Better have the right water temperature. Better make sure you go to the bathroom beforehand and not in the tub or shower.
Take off your clothes.
Take off each article of clothing and remember to take off each one. Then you get in there. You have to make sure you know how to turn on the water or not. Remember all these crazy faucets and which way do they turn, which is hot, which is cold? How frustrating would that be? It's very, very frustrating for them. And then when you get dressed, how to remember how to button a button. What layer? What do I put on first? What is this thing? We've seen all kinds of different styles of clothing. The pullover sweaters where there's no arms in it. How difficult would that be for somebody with dementia? They're going to be wondering where the arms are. Oh my God, there's nothing. Or they won't put anything on underneath, right? Because I got a shirt on. All those things play into somebody's day. It's really hard to take a bath or groom if I don't know. Plus, if you don't see it. How many of us remember to scrub behind our ears if we wouldn't see it? They don't remember. They wear the same item over and over. The longest my grandmother wore her same shirt was 3.5 weeks. We learned we had to buy the same shirt that she loved forever and help her because that was hard. Very, very hard. How many of you have certain clothes you like to wear? Okay. Now imagine I tell you that your new thing is something that you don't like to wear. Some of us don't like to wear jeans, and now you're wearing jeans every single day. I have people that were very business type. They didn't wear jogging pants ever in their, that's not what I do. And now we're putting on jogging pants because it's easier for who? Caregivers, staff. That doesn't give me dignity. I don't feel like a business person anymore. I feel like what? Not the best, right? The neglect dental care. I love to pick on this one because we all brush our teeth different. How many use warm water today? How many use cold water? How would you brush the people you're serving? you're a caregiver, you're probably put the cold water on, and when you put that in my mouth, I'm gonna hit you. And if I'm supposed to do my dental care, how many of us are gonna remember that step? We're in the bathroom. Not very many. Then I have, as a family member, you all mean very, very well. But if you close your eyes and you hear this coming towards your mouth, would you open your mouth? Families get electric toothbrushes because that'll clean my dad's teeth really, really well. It's really important. He's not gonna open his mouth, folks. It sounds like a drill. So making sure sometimes it may be swabbing that mouth just with a sponge. Also, if you have sore teeth, I may not open my mouth. It's hard. How many of you would like somebody else brushing your teeth? It would be so difficult to hold your mouth and then you can't gag or they put it too far. Very, very difficult. They have difficulty entertaining themselves by thinking of activities to do. So imagine you're sitting at your house, you have memory loss, and you can't remember where you put your keys. Are you gonna remember where you put your woodworking stuff? Where you put your yarn? Where the remote is for the TV and how to work it. So they just stop participating in everything because I don't know how to start an activity and I'll just sit here. They have difficulty planning and executing projects or events. They're unmotivated and unwilling to do much. I don't want to. Why would you want to? What's your purpose? Why do you get up each day? And they have no desire or initiative to do things. Questions on these. Now, is everybody going to have all those symptoms? No, it's going to be bits and pieces. Bits and pieces. Okay?
When you said they cannot smell rotten food, is it because they just can't smell?
So your smell changes. Your smell changes. I can tell you a little bit about it today. So with your smell, it changes when you have dementia. Okay? Also changes when you have COVID, right? So they do not smell safety awareness. If there's a fire, they're not going to smell it. They're burning food on the stove. They cannot smell that smell. It's gone. It is gone. As you see them starting to burn more stuff, that is your cue. They cannot smell dangerous situations anymore. They cannot smell their own body odor. So when you say, Mom, you smell. No, I don't. They don't smell. Those are safety awareness things that trigger us to go, oh God, I better wash my armpits. I don't smell good. Oh, hey, there's rotten food. It's gone. So, but the memories wrapped around smells stay. So if any of you have ever been in a car accident, you know that smell of blood because somebody has been hit, that will stay. As soon as I smell blood, that trigger of my dad being in a car accident will pop immediately. Those things stay. That makes sense. Okay. So we're going to talk about mild cognitive impairment. Has anybody heard of that? What is it? Is it dementia? It is not. It's kind of a warning cursor. It's a small, noticeable decline in memory or thinking skills. People with mild cognitive impairment can usually still care for themselves. They're doing daily tasks. It's not a normal condition, but it's not life alternating. It doesn't change your life. It just makes it different. I may not remember things as well as I used to. It's fairly common as we age. The Alzheimer's Association has estimated that roughly 15 to 20% of people over 65 may have mild cognitive impairment. It's just missing some of those things, okay? They're broken into two main categories of what you'd see. Forgetting names, places, and conversations and not being able to come back. I can be going, oh, that bushy-tailed thing, God, I don't remember what you hunt, and 2 days later, I'm still not remembering it. That's mild cognitive impairment. You can't come back. It's those little things. Now, there's a lot more symptoms. We're looking at a dementia, but mild cognitive can be just that. Or misplacing items and forgetting where they are, and I can't retrace very well. Might take me 5 days to find it. That's a start, usually, of a mild cognitive impairment, okay? They may include thinking skills, losing your train of thought, or sense of time or direction, or having trouble focusing. This does not mean you have mild cognitive impairment when you're highly stressed. Highly stressed, does it look like this? Yeah. I can't come up with a name. I can't, oh my gosh, where was I supposed to? What was I thinking of? Stress can look like this. Depression can look like this. When you have a UTI, it can look like this. The thing is when I'm less stressed, if this still stays, we need to look at this. If I have my depression is under control and I still have this, we need to look at mild cognitive impairment. Those are the differences. Does that make sense? Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
I feel like it's sort of up to the family member to get to do this initial assessment to know whether to take further action.
Yes. I'll be honest with you because I'll use my grandma's example. She would make an appointment. If you're not seeing signs of your loved one having changes, are you probably going to go with the appointment? No. And if you go in and the doctor is talking to you fine and you're forgetting a little bit, doctors consider that aging, and they don't do a cognitive test on you, you could be way far along before they know. Also, your family should be the ones that are watching ahead of time because I'll be honest, I worked with a lady right now. She is 49 years old and has dementia. She worked at a business, didn't notice that she was having issues, actually got rid of her because she was not doing her deadlines, not getting stuff done. Thank goodness she worked in healthcare and her children were educated on dementia, and they started watching mom. Mom was forgetting steps. The doctor had no idea. She'd go to the appointment and go, yeah, I'm doing great. She was healthier than a horse. She'd run on the treadmill. She started having car accidents. She started having those little things. So yeah, I agree, Lori. It has to be that us as a society start looking at our families and go, let's work together. Let's watch each other. You know, I hope somebody notices the changes with me and goes, hey, what's going on? And we start looking at stress, because how many of us get stress treated? How many of us get our depression treated? There's such a stigma that that's bad, and it can affect our memory if we don't.
It seems like it's especially difficult if you're, in that case, a parent who's living by themselves. You don't really see all those
You
little
don't see
things.
this. And daddies and moms are really good about covering for each other.
Yeah.
Covering for each other. And it's amazing because dad needs physical help. So mom's lifting him, helping. Mom's the one with a mental condition that she's not remembering. They cover for each other. And you have no idea until all of a sudden one goes and you're like, oh my Lord. Or dad has to be in the hospital, you're like, oh my, I didn't know they were at this spot. So yeah, it definitely being proactive. 10 to 15% of people with mild cognitive impairment will develop dementia each year. So if you have this, there's a higher chance of getting it. But again, it's about keeping your brain active. If you think about it, how many of us use all parts of our brain all day long? I'll give you an example. I don't have to do much math. I take care of people. There's not a lot of math involved. There's not a lot of that at all. So I do a checkbook, and I do it the old-fashioned way. You write out, and you subtract, because I need to keep that part of my brain going. I will do the ABCs backwards on my way to work. I will take a different route to work. Because if you drive the same road, and there's a roadblock, are you going to remember how to get there? Go in a different way. If you have mild cognitive impairment, you will not. Does that make sense? Under the dementia umbrella is vascular dementia. This is a dementia that 20% of men usually have. More men, more men than women. It's a 20% dementia, sorry. More men have this, and it's one of the smaller diagnosed dementias. About 20% of people have it. Age 60 to 77 is usually when they get a diagnosis. This is all about your blood supply and oxygen levels. If you had a stroke, if you had a heart attack, if you had any different heart surgeries, if you have diabetes, you have a higher chance of getting vascular. Okay, questions on it so far? Vascular, you will see sudden changes and spotty losses. It's very inconsistent. So you'll go visit mom today and she's not quite right. And you'll call your sister and say, hey, I was over at mom's today. She's not quite right. There's something wrong. Sister will go there the next day and she goes, Mom's fine, what are you talking about? And they're like, no, she's not. And families start feuding because they're seeing different things. Vascular is like that. They last 3 to 30 years with this diagnosis. 3 to 30, because it's all about this blood supply and oxygen level. So I can be going downhill and then I plateau for a while. And everybody goes, God, Mom's doing great. She doesn't need to go to nursing home. And then all of a sudden, whoop, and then I plateau for a while, okay? It's unique to the person because it's about their other condition. So it's about my heart disease. It's about my edema from my diabetes. It's about my cardiovascular problems. That is why it's different, and it'll look different for everybody because it's about the blood supply and oxygen in your blood, okay? They have a frequent urge to urinate. They're the ones, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom. And they get in there. And they may trickle a little bit, may not go, but if you don't take them, they cannot change their focus onto anything else but that bathroom. And they really do have to go, folks, because it's that little tingling sensations. If you think about it, like, you know how your leg feels when it falls asleep and then you get this little tingling? That's what they have down there, and they have to go now. Even if you just took them 5 minutes ago. They also neglect what's on the left side. Prime example is you're gonna put a plate of food in front of them. They went to the restaurant. They're gonna eat majority of everything on the right, especially when they're in the middle of the disease, and everything on the left, they leave. When you turn the plate, they'll finish eating. So oftentimes these people are dehydrated because if you think about where somebody puts a drink, often it's over here on the left. They'll start using their fingers because they don't see the silverware. Everything that's on the left, they neglect. They don't see it. Same thing when they're getting out of bed. If the walker is on the right-hand side, they're not gonna pay attention to what's on the left. Walker has to be over on the right. Does that make sense? You'll see that when you approach, they'll respond better to you as a family member if you come from the right side and not the left.
Is that an all?
Unvascular.
Okay, unvascular.
In vascular. They have problems recognizing what objects are for. So you may give a toothbrush and eventually as the disease progresses, they're brushing their hair with it and toothpaste is all over. Or they're eating a napkin. Or I had individuals that were eating, I put a seed in the dirt to plant seeds for spring and they thought it was donuts and they were eating it. That's vascular, folks. They don't recognize what that object's for. Okay? They have bounce back and bad days. That's where it's really hard. Because people start to argue because Mom never does that with me. I never see that. No, because Mom was having a good day that day. It's the same thing at my facility. I will call families and say, you know what, your mom has vascular, this is what I'm seeing. Even if they don't have a diagnosis, I will tell you, I can't diagnose you, but I'll give you a hint. Might be vascular, does your dad have diabetes? Does your dad have this? Oh yeah, the doctor never diagnosed him with this. Let's watch and see if it's this. These are the warning signs. I will call them and say, your dad's having a good day, come visit. Because when you come and they're having a bad day, who are you gonna blame? Everybody else, because you've seen them on good days. Now what's wrong with my dad? Judgment behavior is not the same. How they acted is not the same when they have vascular, okay? They act a little bit different. Their personality does change a little bit. They have emotional and energy shifts. So what does this look like? You're visiting with Mom, you're having a great visit, you're laughing about the old times. And all of a sudden she starts to cry. It's the most awful wail you'll ever hear. And when you say, Mom, what's wrong? What does she say?
I don't know.
I don't know. Don't say what's wrong. If they have vascular and they are doing this huge emotional energy shift, you need to hand her a napkin and move on to something else. So I had a lady in Motley that I took care of, greatest vascular person that you've ever seen, because she'd do this on dime. She'd be waving at people as they come in. Hey, welcome to Harmony House. She's a great greeter. And all of a sudden they'd be walking and she'd be walking with them and she'd burst out crying. First time I had it, I said, what's wrong? I don't know, and she'd get worse. So I learned to hand her a napkin, and we would walk. By the time we got to the end of the house, she was done. That stopped working, because remember, things don't work every day. So then we started, what else can we do with her? So I sang. She sang beautifully. You are my sunshine. We'd be singing, and she'd forget about it. Then we had other people in the house who started yelling at her. Goddamn, baby, we'll give you something to cry about. You cry all the time. Well, this is not working. So we started stomping, and I'd have her stomp with me. Let's stomp, and let's clap. And we had a drumming line in Motley, Minnesota, every afternoon about 2:30. That is vascular. They're going to shift their emotions. You are fine, you're shopping, you're having a good day, and all of a sudden they're crying. Or they're angry at you. We need to go home now! You're like, whoa, what happened? That is vascular. They will shift their emotions like crazy. Okay, like crazy. Questions on vascular. This is just a brief, I could go one whole session on just vascular. Yes?
So who will actually do the diagnosis of vascular versus another? I mean,
So here's the wonderful deal. You get diagnosed with dementia. We'll kind of go over that here in a second. It doesn't matter what kind you have to most family doctors.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. So you can take mom to a neurologist, ask for a deal. The problem with going to a neurologist is what? Well, they go willingly. Then you get the diagnosis. What are you going to do about it? So as a family, what would you do if dad had vascular? If you don't have these tools I gave you today,
Right, you learn.
it won't mean anything.
Yeah, but hopefully they would say,
You would hope so. Also, if they progress, and say you started out with Alzheimer's disease, vascular pairs up really well with it, and by 3 to 4 years into it, you could have both. So even though you have the diagnosis from the neurologist, I have vascular. As you're progressing, you can get Alzheimer's disease, and now you have both. Are you gonna take dad back for the other diagnosis? So those are key things, because, and the neurologist may not always be able to give it to you. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. Depends on the willingness for testing for your loved one as well.
And they can test by doing MRI, you said?
Depends what kind you have. So we'll talk about that, but it depends what kind you have, what they'll do.
Okay.
They can't care. I don't want to. This is not depression with vascular. They just don't care. They're not going to be your motivated people to go, we got to go out for coffee, we got to go play bingo with the kids. No, and they're not depressed. They just have flat apathy. I don't want to. Again, it's the blood level. They may have a really good day, next day not so much. Next one is Lewy Body. Lewy Body is usually people over 40. They last 5 to 8 years. It affects the cortex, that outer layer of your brain. That's where the chemicals are affected in this one. Lewy Body pairs up really well with Parkinson's, but there's a difference. Parkinson's folks do resting tremors. They sit there and you'll see tremors. Lewy Body is not that. Lewy Body shakes when they go to grab something. Often misdiagnosed. My grandma had Parkinson's is what they said. She did tremor sitting there. She's great. She did when she went to go grab her crocheting, when she went to go grab the cup, when she went to go grab the spoon. Does that make sense? Lewy Body people fall. That's the first thing you're going to notice is they fall, and they fall hard, and they fall often. And you're like, why is mom falling all of a sudden? They fall a lot. They have visual hallucinations. Animals, people, children that are not there. Okay, so the tree moving outside in the wind can look like somebody coming to attack them. A flag that used to never bother them looks like somebody's going to wrap them up and smother them. Okay. There's a lot of things you can do for hallucinations. I am a person that I don't like TV. TV is awful. Think about it. You walk away and there's bad stuff even on a commercial. I like DVDs if we're going to do DVDs, but I want you to think about old westerns. I'm starting to go to sleep and I'm hearing, get off my property, I'm going to shoot you. I wake up. What are the chances I'm gonna see that people are trying to hurt me and kill me? They can't decipher what's real and what's not, folks. So really watching TV, making sure blinds are closed, those kinds of things, more lighting is really important. They walk, my grandma was a Burgraph, I don't know if any of you know that name. So they would laugh and tease each other and say, when you get in your 70s, you're gonna develop the Burgraph Shuffle. And how it is they would walk hunched over, they would shuffle their feet and have a blank stare. That's Lewy Body, folks, it's not Burgraph Shuffle. It is Lewy Body. All her brothers and sisters had it. Yes,
Is
Do the
that a
other,
normal percentage?
I'll answer her and then I'll come back.
do the other dementias have the blank stare too?
Not until they're later on in the disease. So this is like almost the beginning, like the first 2 years, you're gonna see this. They'll start to drool. My grandmother couldn't keep her saliva, then she'd start drooling. They have a weak voice, so she used to be this loud, vibrant woman, and all of a sudden the voice gets weaker and weaker. Unless she's upset, but otherwise it gets very weak. High anxiety. High anxiety, my grandma worried about everything and now it was tenfold. But this is Lewy Body, folks, so you get into a doorway and you don't know what to do, and she would shuffle and she kept getting slower and slower and slower, but she was falling. When she really wanted to go somewhere, she could move. That is Lewy Body. She had fine motor problems, hard time writing. We'll talk about the clock drawing. This is the group that will write very teeny tiny. Think about what their handwriting looked like before, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
So is that a normal percentage of family members to have Lewy Body?
You know, they had a mix. So often Lewy Body will partner with Alzheimer's disease as well. So yeah, and it's medications. I'm a firm believer in healthy lifestyle, helps prevent things. Medications to avoid, they were not. Every ailment had a pill. Everything, I kind of see some of that as affecting because this group is highly affected by drugs. So, yeah, but it was a little odd to have that many, but they did, and they laughed about it, you know, and then when I'm like, oh my God, my grandma has Lewy Body, she doesn't have Parkinson's, because I didn't know anything about it. Do doctors know all this information I'm sharing you today? No, they don't, because they don't have to take the time because it doesn't matter. To me it does, because I'm taking care of these people and I need more. I need to know, this is a huge difference. Vascular Lewy Body, huge difference in how they act. I know what I can do. Vascular, big difference. Their blood pressure drops upon standing, that's why they're falling. Nobody tells family members this. Never have mom stand up. When you ever stand up off the chair, she's sitting here and go, Mom, let's stand up, we're gonna go to the doctor. When she stands up, I go, oh my God, that's a lot of work, Mom. Let's take a deep breath. That gives time for her blood pressure to catch up. Because if you have her step right away, she's gonna fall. Every time we change a task, we need to go, let's take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath, okay? Again, we want those chemicals working, and we're getting oxygen to the chemicals. They have nightmares, so they do not sleep well, and they sleep most of the day. So all of a sudden, now Dad's up from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Okay, does that make sense? They fluctuate in their abilities, so today they can help, tomorrow they can't. They have high, hot, cold sensitivity, especially in their fingers and toes. My toes are freezing. Oh, my fingers, I can't move them. That's Lewy Body, okay? Drugs do not work well with this group. You have extreme, strange behaviors or death. Some of those pills are toxic to this group and they will die.
Why do doctors put them on them then?
Again, if I don't know you have Lewy Body, I don't know anything about Lewy Body, and the family keeps complaining that you have behaviors and you're up all night, by God, you're going on sleeping pills. We're not gonna try aromatherapy, we're not gonna try any of that. You're going on a pill because as Americans, what do we tend to push?
Yeah, pills.
Pills. We want a quick fix. I work upstairs, I take care of some of the Harmony Health residents, I'm a manager up there right now as well, and I push my staff. Pills don't fix, they mask. So let's find out why they're hallucinating. What is it? Is it the environment? It's not comfortable for me. Is it I'm seeing things that aren't there because my vision has changed? Is it because I have a urinary tract infection? What is going on? How many of you sleep with a fan? Okay, now you don't have a fan in your room. How comfortable are you at night?
Mm-mm.
And just that could keep her up all night, okay? Questions on Lewy body. The first thing you're gonna notice is mobility. Mobility is affected before memory. Questions on that one? Is this helping?
So
Yes.
Yes.
how do you differentiate between this and Parkinson's?
Big one is this. I'm sitting here and you're gonna see me have resting tremors. If I go to move and I have the tremors too, I can have Parkinson's and Lewy body at the same time.
Okay.
Parkinson's, usually you'll have it for 5 years and it'll develop into Lewy body. My grandmother showed Lewy body immediately. Immediately. But oftentimes, doctors see it as Parkinson's. So making sure that you try to see, are these other things there? And again, I could do a whole session if you want on Lewy body, because there's a huge difference between that and Parkinson's. Huge.
Well, especially if it's misdiagnosed.
Yes. And they got you on Parkinson's meds
Mm-hmm.
that are now making you progress quicker with the Lewy body. So yeah.
Well, the neurologist told us basically that it doesn't matter which type you have because they're all treated the same.
And they are. What do they do for dementia? Nothing.
There's a dementia med now they put them on. Does that really help?
No.
Donna?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, it does help you as a caregiver. Okay, so I put mom on Namenda, and she's remembering things a little bit better. She's not as anxious, and she's on this. But you're still progressing. You just don't see it. So when I take you off the med, because now you cannot talk, you cannot walk, and we take it off, guess what? Mom is right back to the level she's supposed to be, which is way worse. And they go, God, mom wasn't like this when she was on the med. No, because it masks the symptoms. It's hiding it. And as soon as you take off the med, it pops back up.
Do the meds eventually wear off where they don't?
They don't work. They're just gonna progress. They're just making it
But
comfortable
I mean,
for you right now.
will there be like a couple years down the road where you'll see the med isn't even doing anything? And then
When it
you'll have
becomes
to take them off?
Less
And
effective.
then, yeah.
I
where it becomes
have
less
with
effective.
people, because they're not speaking anymore, they're not doing anything. But it's just gonna progress. The only reason those are really good is for the comfort of that person too. Because let's be honest, I wanna remember as much as I can. If I was diagnosed today at 47, I would take the Namenda or Aricept. I would. Because I want to stay healthy, I wanna still have my job. But if I am getting older and the symptoms don't bother me as much, then no. It just depends on how much you wanna have functioning. They don't last very long, this Namenda and Aricept. You won't see changes in them, but everything is progressing. So if you had, like I'll use vascular. If you had vascular and you put me on Namenda or Aricept, I'm still falling. I'm gonna break a hip. I'm still walking with a blank stare and drooling. It's not hiding that, it's hiding the memory issues. Namenda and Aricept are more for memory. So you see that in Alzheimer's disease. So, just depends which one you have. Like I would put somebody on vascular for it because they're not having memory issues. Lewy body, the same thing. They're not having memory issues, they're having more physical changes. Does that make sense? Yeah. This is really easy. That's one of the things I do. So if you wanted me to sit with your loved one, it would take me maybe 10, 15 minutes. I have to look at their meds. And I have to look at this. Now, am I a doctor? No. So I can't tell you this is what they have, but I can say, no, I think they're a little off, and this is why. And then you can be your proactive self and go, hey, listen here, I'm a little concerned about this med, because meds do affect their cognition. Meds do affect their falls. And often families aren't told that. They're saying, this is the best med, but we don't ask, what are the side effects? How would this affect my mom's dementia? Because even Benadryl's huge. It affects this Lewy body like crazy. Red dyes, those kinds of things.
The pharmacists are pretty much your best friends though, because that's.
Yes, they are.
Drugs that the pharmacists do know, and they'll tell you the side effects and what.
Yep, pharmacists are pretty good at that. So yeah. Questions on this one anymore? Just a brief tidbit. Frontal temporal. If I have to get a dementia, this is the one I want. It's also called Pick's disease. People in their 45 to 64, that is when the first signs come out. They usually last about 8 years, again, depending. Females have it more. The first 2 years, memory, language, and vision are good. There's no changes in their memory, no changes in their vision, okay? There's many types of frontal temporal, so I just give a brief overview. It's decision making. So all of a sudden, maybe I'm not showing up to work on time. Or, you know, maybe I forgot to put underwear on today. I'm just not thinking things through. Or maybe, you know what? Oh God, I got everything at the store. I just forgot this pack of gum. I'm just gonna stick it in my pocket. I'm not making sound decisions. They're a little bit off. I have problems sequencing. So when there's tons of things to do, like how to hook up the computer today, I may forget those steps and start struggling with that, okay? I lose sympathy and empathy. This is the group that says it the way it is. It affects the front part of the brain right here, okay? And this is your gatekeeper. It tells you not to swear, to not go out naked. This gatekeeper becomes open, and I start saying things the way it is. God, you're fat. God damn it. How many hoes have you had? You are the meanest person. You've been stealing from me all my life. I cannot believe you're my daughter. That is really, really hard for people. Very, very hard. And my grandma would get confronted because she did this. She had frontal temporal, my other grandma. And she'd be confronted on it. And she'd say, well, it's true. Look at her. You don't have the balls to say it, but she's fat. I don't have a problem. We're supposed to be honest. God says we're supposed to be honest. She's fat. That's really, really hard. That's probably the hardest thing about this group is they're mean at the mouth. And they are mean. And they say a lot of things. They also say things that they normally wouldn't. Okay? So I work, I'll go over to St. Francis and take care of the nuns sometimes and help train. Nuns have heard all kinds of jokes all their life, right? They have seen all kinds of things all their life. But as a nun, should you probably be saying sexual words like body parts? Now these frontal temporal folks are sitting at the dining room table and they're yelling out male gender parts. Is that offensive to the other nuns? Yeah, and they told me, you have to stop this. Come over here. You need to train these people not to do this. There's got to be a pill or something. Is there a pill or something to tell somebody not to say that? Am I going to change that? No. That's what's really hard about this group, because does this group lose their family very quickly? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not because they don't love them. They have no idea the hurt and pain they're causing. No idea. None. They crave sweet and fatty foods. This is the group that will go around and they like ho-hos. They love that sweet stuff. They will steal people's desserts. They may have tons of desserts in their cupboards. That's what they choose to eat. Okay? They have compulsive behaviors, very OCD. Don't touch my stuff. This is where my stuff belongs. I have all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God, Mom's becoming a hoarder and she's mean as heck. That is this part of dementia. That is the way they are, okay? They'll say unexpected, forbidden words, mean things to others, excessive emotions. If they're mad, it's not mad, it is angry hatred. If they're sad, it's major crying and they can't stop. If it's happy, it's crazy happy, jump off the bridge, fun happy. It's extreme. All emotions with this group. My grandma could walk. Heck yeah, she could walk. She had no problem. She was the one that she'd drive and they tried to take her car keys. She was a smart woman. Physically, she was fine. But imagine taking care of somebody all day long that accuses you of stealing. You're ugly. You're the rudest person ever. I don't want to see you. I hate you. When she died, 3 buried her of her children and 3 did not. This disease, this disability took her children away because nobody understood. Everybody thought she was this mean woman. Never was like that before, but they have no ability to filter. So when you say, Mom, that's not nice to say, you know better than to say that, she's gonna tell you. Because I don't have a filter and I'm gonna tell you, stay on my business. So think about it. All the other dementias affect you, but this one, you get to eat sweet and fatty foods. You get to say anything that's at the tip of your tongue, and you can hoard. Who would not want this one if you had to choose one? This would be my one.
Okay.
So,
Well, think about it. It wouldn't be so bad. Yes.
like my dad, well, he's gone now, but,
Yeah.
he never did have the ability to filter. I mean, he was, you know, you get your
Yeah,
old,
Relate to that.
yeah, and he was German, Polish, and he didn't have a problem saying, God, that baby's ugly, you know, or,
But let's see. When he said, God, that baby's ugly, did he say it to the baby and to the mother?
yeah.
There's a
I
chance.
was horrified.
Well, and that is a chance that it's there, but I will tell you, some of us grew up that way. Also, alcoholism. Think about it. If you were alcoholic all your life, what did you do? You said it was at your tip of your tongue. So, yeah, you may see some of those things just because of that. Interesting study they're doing right now is how we laugh. So, you guys are going to learn a lot about me. Lori and Lori will probably blab in the office, but that's okay. And so we have a video out
Think of
there.
it.
I have a weird sense of humor that most people think is weird.
We already
love,
knew that. No,
I
just
love,
kidding.
yeah, but I love scaring people. Like, you know, if they're in the elevator, I might go boo. You know, I love to joke if I can. That's my thing. We used to have a scarecrow that would travel from toilet to toilet of our break rooms. You know, you go to the toilet, you open up, oh! They're trying to say now that if you have that crazy sense of humor where you laugh at things that other people don't think is funny, you have almost a 48% chance of getting frontal temporal because you already have it in you, like your dad. 48% chance. That's me, folks.
Do you laugh when somebody falls? I mean, I think everybody does.
I go, are you okay? But then, yeah. I laugh, or somebody stubs a toe. You know, the other day we were doing a director's meeting and somebody walked into the closet. They
Oh,
thought
God,
it was
that
the way
was
to leave.
hilarious.
It was so dang funny. I was laughing and laughing. That's that. And I'm like, oh my Lord, I really have to watch what I laugh at. But it is
Well,
what
I
it
called
is.
her the other day upstairs and what did you say? Thrifty White or?
No, I
something?
said, Reds. And she goes, what? I go, Reds? And she goes, oh my God, I think I have the wrong number. I said, it's you? It's me, Michelle.
Then I'm like, duh, I dialed in-house, it
I
couldn't
was
be
laughing
Reds.
so hard.
But she caught me so off
This
guard.
group, they do laugh at the things that you normally would not laugh at. I'm a unicorn and rainbows person. So people get bit mad at things and I'm like, huh, it's kind of funny. What's going to happen tomorrow? You know, I can deal with it. It's okay. You know, that's really hard for people. That is really, really hard for somebody. But this group is all about emotions. All about emotions. That's what you're going to see. That filter is gone. That's what you'll see first. Questions on this group? Okay. Temporal damage is your vocabulary. So it affects both sides of your brain. Not being able to speak. You're going to see this with traumatic brain injury. You're going to see this with strokes. They have vague descriptions, nonsense words, poor volume control. They may be very, very loud. You're like, Mom, you don't have to be that loud. They really don't have any idea how loud they're speaking, okay? But it's all about language, is temporal damage, okay? More usually with having a stroke, okay? Traumatic brain injury, also the frontal part is damaged, so you will see a lot of this. Guys that played football for many, many years, boxers fit this category, okay? And they're hard to take care of because they're gonna be mean at the mouth with you. Alcohol related, vitamin B1. If you have a deficiency, that's why it's important to make sure you're taking your vitamins. Vitamin B1 can cause you to have this dementia if you have a deficiency, okay? First thing you're gonna notice is they can't do new things. It's alcohol related as well, this one. They're not interested in activities. When do most people that drink do activities? When they're drunk at nighttime at a bar. So oftentimes, they look a little bit like Lewy Body because people are like, well, they're staying up all night. Yeah, but you know what? They're not shuffling. Okay, that's true. Well, then you start noticing they're falling. Well, how do people that are intoxicated walk? Okay? So now you got them walking like they're intoxicated. They do their activities at night, and what do you do at a bar? Do you act like business appropriate, or do you act different?
You are lucid.
You're lucid, and you're saying anything at your mouth, so they think it's frontal temporal. The big way to tell the difference between all the other dementias and this one is when you start them on a task, they won't stop it. So if you say, Dad, pound this nail into the wood, he's gonna keep pounding and the nail's in there and he will not stop. If you tell them to brush their teeth, they will keep brushing it until you tell them to stop. They do not stop, nor do they start a task. If you say, hey, go brush your teeth, they sit there and sit there. They need visual cues, and they tell whoppers of stories. And this goes with the TV as well, and things that are going on around it. Prime example, I took care of a woman. She was upstairs, sitting in a wheelchair with her coat on. She is 87 years old, okay? I knew she had alcohol problems, okay? And she looks at me, and I didn't care. She's sitting by the door with her coat on. We have a locked facility. Who cares? It's not a big worry to me. And she goes, hey, you wanna know where I'm going? I said, yeah. She goes, my husband's coming to get me. I said, oh, congratulations. Husband's been dead for 8 years, folks. I didn't correct her, because why? I went to win. She would be reliving the death. And I go, well, congratulations, see you later. And she goes, wait. Don't you wanna know why he's picking me up? I love stories, so I'm like, sure. I said, your husband's coming to get you? Why is he picking you up? She goes, I'm having a baby. I'm having a baby, and she's rubbing everything. And I go, oh my God, congratulations, Ethel, you're having a baby, your husband's coming to get you. And she goes, yeah. And I go, well, congratulations. I start walking away. And she goes, well, don't you want to know the baby's daddy? Oh, this is way better than training, sure. So I go back and I said, Ethel, you're having a baby, your husband's picking you up, but he's not the dad? And she goes, no. I'm having Mark Dayton's baby. I am having Mark Dayton's baby. And I said, who is he? And she goes, well, the governor.
Of course.
Oh, wow. I said, so you're having the governor's baby? And your husband's coming to pick you up? And she goes, yeah, I know. I'm one lucky lady, ain't I? I'm like, yes, you are. And I start walking away, and she goes, don't you want to know where we're going? Oh, this is going to be good. So sure. And I said, where are you going? She goes, we're going to the Waltons. I said, so let me get this right. You're going to the Waltons because you're pregnant with Mark Dayton's baby and your husband's picking you up. And she goes, yeah, isn't that great? I said, that is fantastic. You are going to have one heck of a good day. She goes, I know, have a good day. See you later. All day, she would tell anybody that entered our building what she was doing. It comes to lunch and she's not leaving that door, folks. I want her to eat. So I go up to her, I said, Ethel, what are you doing? She tells me the story again. And I said, well, I would assume the baby's hungry and he's not here yet. I can see the door. Maybe we should go eat. She goes, do you think I'm an idiot? She said, my husband isn't coming. If you got pregnant with another man's baby, would he come and get you? She said, he ain't coming. And I said, well, I guess you're right. We went to the dining room, she ate, and we never heard the story again. She watched TV. She watched the Waltons 2 days before. Mark Dayton was running for re-election. He was all over the TV. And she created her own reality. There are some people that are great at it. I'll give you another example. I have another lady that I took care of. She called the social worker at Morrison County, our county social worker, and says, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that my boyfriend died today. He committed suicide, and I'm really gonna need a little bit more money. The social worker calls me and goes, oh my God, you really need to take care of her. If you need anything, you need flowers, you need clothes for her, let me know because, her boyfriend died. So do you remember she's at a facility and there's a reason? She goes, what? I said, she has a condition. He's not dead. I said, no. She goes, oh my God, I was making funeral arrangements and everything. I go, he's not dead. That is this group. They can tell whoppers of stories. Okay? Questions on this one?
Do they remember the stories?
No, not a clue. Not a
They
clue.
say they have no idea that they said it.
Not a clue. So then, when somebody else confronts them and says, well, you told our daughter this, or you told your sister, they go, no, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. I do not know what you're talking about. Think about that. When they did have alcohol issues and were drinking, how many times did they have to lie to get past something? And they would say, no, I didn't say that. And they didn't really remember what happened when they were drunk. It's very similar to that. So yeah.
So if they ever get into their reality, have you ever seen it where they haven't come out of it for a while? You know, like days
Yes.
or weeks or
Yes,
anything?
I'll give you a prime example. I have a lady upstairs who thinks she is going to Thief River Falls where she grew up. And every single day for about 3 months, she stayed on that focus. That was her story. She was going to Thief River because we stole her dentures. She lost them, by the way. And she was going to Thief River. She would yell out the window to the parking lot, help me, they stole my dentures!
Oh, jeez.
3 months she stayed on it, and then it was forgotten. It's usually 3 months. I tell families, if we can get
Wow.
through 3 months, it's gonna be better. Everything is a process. So you may have one of these on any of the dementias, and we gotta get through 3 months. Hopefully you don't have all the symptoms all at once, but you could. But it's just getting through. Does that make sense?
So does the alcohol kill the brain off and
Yep.
cause that?
Alcohol kills brain cells every time you take a sip.
So there's no reversing it, I mean, stopping drinking is not gonna,
Not gonna change it. Same thing with vascular. Vascular can also be because of smoking. Not gonna change it. Yep, not gonna change it at all.
if, let's say they stop drinking, so the damage shouldn't get any worse from then on.
Right,
But it'll lose the damage.
right.
there
But the
now.
damage is already done in the brain. So again, it depends on how bad it affected the brain. But stopping earlier than later is much better. But yeah, kind of scary.
So it's not good to go home and have a glass of wine tonight after this?
Moderation, but it does affect. I mean, even medicate, like pills, heroin, I'm seeing a lot of drug overdosing that the younger kids are starting out with this one, because they've done heroin or those kinds of things, so.
Wow.
Next one is Alzheimer's disease. This is the most diagnosed. It is the only form of dementia that will travel the whole brain. It doesn't leave a part untouched. So you talked about the cortex and the Lewy Body's chemicals and the frontal defects here. This is the dementia that travels the whole brain. It starts over here, your hippocampus, your short-term memory. This is what you'll see. They can't remember those short-term things, and it will travel the whole brain. So sometimes you think you have frontal temporal you're dealing with because they're acting that way. But I always ask, what did they do when you first saw changes? Oh, they didn't remember this. Okay, now we're either dealing with frontal temporal with it, or it's traveling the brain and that's where it is right now in the journey, okay? It shrinks the brain from 3 pounds to 1 pound. You last 8 to 12 years, usually, if you get diagnosed when you're over 65, okay? But young onset is in your 40s, can be in your 20s. Genetics can be a cause. Down syndrome, your lifestyle. You have a lot of stress, you have a higher chance of getting Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, we're all in trouble.
I know, we're all kind of screwed, aren't we?
Yeah.
If I had it today, I always tease Shelly if I had it, and I'm not getting my deadlines done, and I'm arriving a little bit late for work, and maybe I didn't go to a meeting, do you think my workplace is going to say, oh my God, Michelle, we're so sorry, you have Alzheimer's disease, we got to help you? Chances are no. They're going to say, you need to start packing. We've tried, you're not doing it. Then I go home, and I tell my significant other I lost my job. Do you think he's going to say, oh honey, you have Alzheimer's disease, I'm so worried about you? No, and all of a sudden I'm not picking up the children. And at 2 a.m. maybe I'm sitting at a bar because I'm depressed because I lost my job, and I don't pick up the kids. Do you think he's going to say, honey, you have Alzheimer's disease? He's going to say, you floozy, you're sitting at 2 a.m. and you're not picking up our children, we need a divorce. Most people that have the young onset, they lose their job, they lose their relationships, services. How many people at 40 years old can be in assisted living? Not very many. You don't get caddy waivers to pay for it. and they get flat apathy, don't come out of their house, get depression, and a lot of them are committing suicide. A lot of them. Because if you think about it, you and I, if you had that happen in your life right now, how life-changing would that be? And what would you do? It's very scary. Very, very scary. Late onset is usually 65 and older. As you age, you have a higher chance of getting this one. This is one age plays a factor, okay? Again, it's about your memory worsens, you misspeak, you're impulsive, you get lost, but it'll affect the whole brain. There won't leave any part of your brain untouched, okay? There's 120 plus forms, types, and causes of dementia. There's tons of them. And the cool thing I learned at a training last week is if you think about dementia, we're thinking about this disease. But if you think about it as a disability, we treat people different if it's a disability. And that's what dementia is. It's a disability. I have a disability. I cannot remember to come to my meetings on time. I don't remember to be nice to you because I have a disability. But if we say disease, we think of cancer and stuff that can possibly be curable. I can get radiation, I can do, this is a disability I will have all my life, okay? Some progress very rapidly. Vascular can go very quickly depending on the blood flow, but it can last forever too, depending upon the blood flow. It can be genetic, some are not, but some are. It's very unique. Some follow more traditional patterns like Alzheimer's disease, but vascular and Lewy body can be quite different.
Do they know what causes dementia? Or is there not one,
There's all kinds of things. All kinds of things. So it can be, you don't use it, you lose it, right? So if you think about that, if you're never moving your leg, are you gonna be able to walk? Probably not. If you're not using parts of your brain, the brain cells are gonna die off because you're not using them. You're not using them. The same thing, some people say it's your food, your lifestyle. That goes with vascular. Vascular is about your blood supply. So what are you eating? If you're diabetic and you keep eating those things and you're on all this insulin, can that really be good for you? No, it's about changing that. Also how active we are. You think about our grandparents and great-grandparents, what were they doing? Making homemade bread, living without heat, and they were busy all the time. You didn't hear a lot about this. But now we're a very sedentary culture. We don't do a lot of those things. We go home at night, we're probably watching TV on the computer. If you take away your phone and your computer, how many other things would you be doing if you didn't have that? How active would you be? So that's kind of how they look at things. It could be genetics. It can be the drugs. It can be alcohol. It can be procedures. Anesthesia can kick you off, just depending on what chemicals are in your body. I see people that have dementia, anesthesia makes things way worse on certain individuals. Again, Lewy body, if you think about that. It's not always dementia. It could be a medication side effect, and mom's having memory fog because of that. It could be a hearing loss or a vision loss. You know, if I can't see well, I'm gonna be more confused. It could be depression, it could be delirium. Again, a urinary tract infection. Dehydration can cause issues. Low sodium levels can cause issues. So making sure that we're having at least those things done, having blood work done, see where my levels are and everything. It can be pain related. I can have brain fog just because I'm in pain. So there's screening options. They can do an interview with you. So you're going to the doctor and you go, I have some cognitive issues. We're gonna do an interview. So they're gonna interview you, okay? We're gonna talk about that interview, what it looks like. They're gonna do the animal fluency, maybe, usually not from what I've seen right now. Clock drawing, they may do a 7-minute screening, but these are some screenings they may do, okay? The questions, they're gonna look at you. Does your family member have problems with judgment? Now imagine sitting next to your mom in the room and you're giving these answers. Oh, you're going to be hated for a long time. I tell families, if you're going to give the information, call a doctor ahead of time and say, hey, Dr. Shmoo, I'm coming with my mom, but I don't want her to know that we're here for cognitive issues. I want to give you some answers, even an email, but ask, hey, can I have your email? Can I give you? Because you're going to look much better, because when you're sitting talking bad about your mom or your husband, guess what? Who's going to get the brunt? And who's not going with you to the doctor again? Ever again. They're going to ask you, do they show little interest in hobbies or activities? Do you repeat the same things over and over? Do they have trouble learning how to use a tool or gadget? Forget the correct month or year? Have trouble handling financial affairs? Trouble remembering appointments? Daily problems with thinking or memory? They're going to score that. They've changed, they've not changed, I don't know. Again, they don't know the baseline, because have you worked with them before and had a baseline? Did your mom work with them before and have a baseline? This is where you really need to start being proactive, folks, and start going, oh my gosh, I want people to know this about me, so if there's changes, because I want to notice. I want to be the first one to notice, not somebody else, and then they take over, okay?
When do you think you should start that? When you're 40, when you're 50?
Yep, 40. 40. Easy 40, because of those early onsets, you're going to start seeing those symptoms in the 40s.
Everything you've mentioned, every one of these things, I have some of those.
Yeah,
me
but
too.
again, are you high stressed?
Yeah.
Are you worried about things? Then you're going to see these things. Let's be honest. When we're high stressed, you're going to see these things. I get panicky because I take care of dementia, have a higher chance. And I'll be like, oh my God, I got brain fog. The other day I was like, oh, I got to get vitamins. I got to get all this stuff because, oh my gosh, I'm highly stressed. I'm running a house, doing dementia training, and trying to do all these different things, and I want to do good at everything. Or you're worried about your mom, or you're going through a divorce. All these things play a factor in how you function mentally. But if they get better and you take a break and you go, gosh, man, I can do this again. That is why you don't have dementia, is it gets back and better. It's just that click. I call it refocusing. I go crazy and then I need my refocus and I'm back to my normal. Animal fluency, we did that today. Don't let them know what time, that they get 1 minute. Establish a baseline. 12, it used to be the guidelines where 12 was normal for people over 65 and 18 for under 65. Now, they don't look at that anymore, they want to compare you over time. Because if you're highly educated and you know animals because somebody worked as a vet, you're gonna pass that test and go, ha, ha, ha. Now, they put somebody who's not as highly educated and doesn't know animals very well, they may not. We're in central Minnesota. Usually I'll see people start with farm animals, dog, cat, cow, sheep. Then they'll go to the zoo animals. Now, somebody that lives down in Florida is gonna name the ocean animals or birds. If you have somebody that worked with birds all his life, he's gonna know those birds. So looking at what is normal for you. What could you remember at 40? Now I'm 45 and I remember 12 less animals. Should I kind of think about being looked at? Yeah, you should. Because there's a reason. Are you highly stressed? Do you have low vitamin B12? What are those things going on with you? Okay. Clock drawing. You're given a big circle on a blank piece of paper. You're asked to draw the face of the clock and put the numbers in. They're watching for your construction skills. Are you putting the number in the right spot where it goes? How big are your numbers? You will be amazed. What did I tell you about Lewy Body? What side do they leave alone?
Left.
Left. So the clock, all the numbers often will be towards the right, and this side will be kind of empty. Their numbers will be very, very tiny. Okay, frontal temporal. You're gonna have a completely different clock drawing. Big numbers. They have those manipulation skills, and it looks great, except they're really big, and you're like, God, they're good. Yeah, they're good, but it's big. You have to look at the construction of it. Does it look like a normal size clock? What are they drawing? They have to put the hands at 2:45. Watch for placement and how long it takes them for processing. So what they're watching is how long it takes for this pen to register up in your loved one's brain to come down and put it on paper. Would it take you very long to draw a clock and do 2:45? No, that's the difference, okay?
What are they gonna do with all the kids nowadays that learn digital?
I know, they're gonna have to change the testing.
Yeah,
They're gonna have to change the testing, just like COVID. you'd be surprised, there is now a COVID dementia out there. You had COVID, you have a higher chance of getting dementia.
With the brain fog.
Yeah, well, and because of everything that happened in your body and the changes,
Loss of oxygen.
loss of smell, and people are really struggling with this new form of dementia. And it looks very familiar to frontal temporal mixed with alcohol and Lewy body. It's gonna be a really hard dementia.
Wow.
You get 4 possible points, 1 to 12 are used, correct quadrants, the minute hand's correct, the hand's correct, the time, how long it takes. The other test is a slum test. So they're gonna ask you the day of the week, the month, what state you live in. They're gonna ask you to remember 5 things, and then ask you later what those 5 things were. They're gonna ask you about money. You have $100, you buy 3 apples and a trike for 20, what did you spend? What is left? Those of us who suck at math, are we gonna be able to do that?
Oh, I can't practice my math.
They might do animal fluency. They might do the clock drawing. They might do numbers reversed and say 48, what's the opposite of 48? What's the reversal? How many of us could think about that real quick? Shapes, they're gonna ask you to identify and may ask you to draw them and figure out which is larger and which is smaller. You will be surprised. I do a lot of cognitive testing for a while here, and I was up in St. Cloud, we were testing this lady. She came in, she was with it. She was talking about how much she spent at Costco. She was accounting for years. When you asked her what size these shapes were, she didn't know which one was bigger. She performed great on everything else. She could tell the spatial differences. Story recall. Recall this info. Tell me who was in this story. Okay. That's what the slums looks like. This is how they rate you. If you are a high school education, you get rated different than less than high school. Does that make sense? Yeah, because you didn't have that education. You missed that. Now, is it going to be quite interesting where you're looking at a 40-year-old that went to high school at this time and a 60-year-old that went to high school at this time? Yeah, they didn't have calculus and stuff when they went to school, where it should be different. You have to look at that. Mimics of dementia is also depression. If you're depressed, think about a loved one passing, a divorce. You can't think. You feel like it's not worth it. Your mood swings, you change in sleep, your personality changes. It is hard. That's why I tell you that, we do this depression program because we don't want it to become dementia. We want to deal with that depression, and nobody's ever said that. Everybody's so worried about, oh my God, you don't want to say you're depressed because that is the worst thing in the world. Don't have them say that. I'm lonely. I went through something hard. Who would not be extremely sad? That's what depression is. Extremely sad or angry. Because depression has that bad stigma.
Can you be depressed and, how do I say it? Okay, well, a lot of people know I lost my brother and my dad.
Yep.
Both in February, March. Then a couple other family members, total of 4 family members just this year. And it's like, I never really cried.
You didn't have time to cope. You fake it till you make it and move on. But as you age, if you don't cope with that, higher chance of dementia. My grandmother that had frontal temporal, you talked about reasons people get dementia. I found out I was having twins. They told me it's from your side because they're fraternal, it's a boy-girl. Like, that is not true. There's no twins on my side. I come home and my dad and mom are mad at me. I am 30-some years old and they're yelling at me, you do not know this doctor is crazy, you should go to a different one. I said, no. So we told my grandmas, both of my grandmas, remember, one had Lewy Body, one had frontal temporal. My grandmother had frontal temporal that was so angry, gave birth, her last birth was twins. The boy died at the hospital, the girl came home and they never spoke of it since. She
Wow.
did not cope. Did not cope until I had my twins, and by then she already had what?
She already had
Frontal
dementia.
temporal. We don't cope. What are we taught in society? It's gonna
Suck
be
it
better,
up.
just move on.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
move on, just be better. It's okay to talk to somebody. What's wrong with talking to somebody? We don't have solutions, we're a team in society, And oftentimes we can't cope, and that's a lot to weigh on your brain. So if you think of your brain, I should have brought it today. If your brain's a cauliflower, and you sit on the cauliflower some grapes, does it bother the cauliflower that much? Does it break anything off? No. Then you put an orange on there. Doesn't really bother it yet. But now you put the turkey on there because you've had 4 deaths. What happens to the cauliflower brain?
Collapses.
The same thing with hearing. If you don't get your hearing taken care of, here's your brain. Your brain is so focused on hearing, it can't think about what it's supposed to recall because it's focused on hearing because I can't hear, and the brain collapses. Does that make sense? So we all need a respite break from the people we're serving and taking care of, because it does get to be an overload. Or a break from when that happens and talk to someone, because it does become an overload on us. Delirium, you're gonna see a swift change. Oh my God, they're so bad. They may be hallucinating. Lewy Body we're looking at. They may have delusions, on and off responses. It is often an infection, folks, a urinary tract infection. It could be an infection in the skin. It is very, very dangerous when they go through delirium. I have seen a lady that was on too much calcium, and it caused delirium for her. Delirium. She's the one that thought her boyfriend was dead, and it was too much calcium. Too much calcium. Pharmacy didn't catch it. Doctor didn't catch it until we kept going. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I really don't think her dementia is getting worse. Oh yeah, it is. No, it's not. And I kept pushing. She's been to the doctor 8 times, and they finally figured it out. She's now back to her old self. Wow. Bad. What should happen when you go to see a doctor? Screening of your thinking. Simple ones, short but helpful ones, open discussion. You might have to be the advocate for your loved one because they don't want to say. How many of you would want to say? Call ahead of time. If you're concerned but you're under 65, do simple test. If you're over 65, you need a little bit more testing just because age does play a factor with our brain. Establish a baseline with your doctor and find somebody you already trust. Other places will do cognitive testing and stuff. If you ever have questions, ask me. I can direct you or I can help you. Blood work. Rule out infections. I want them to go through my medical and physical history. How many surgeries I had. Guess what? Surgeries can cause vascular, depending on how many you have. Do a blood culture on me. See if there's any inflammation, those kinds of things. A neurological and psychological assessment. A good history. A complete medication review of my meds. If they won't do it, I can send you places if you need help, okay? Screening for cognitive changes, follow-up and counseling. Get a CAT scan or MRI or PET scan for the cause if you're looking for the cause. If you need help, please ask me, because I know oftentimes there's a diagnosis and there's no follow-up. That's what we're trying to do at Horizon Health, to be your follow-up. How can I help you? Okay, your dad's at this part of the disease. Let me help you. Because we can give you tools and I can direct you wherever it goes because we know all those tools, but we can be that first spot for you because it's very, very scary. And Google is not the best answer always because you don't have that physical connection. If you suspect something might be happening, what should you do? Be supportive. It'd be scary. Be an advocate for them. Start looking at, do you have to have a power of attorney? Are they making good sound decisions? Or do we need to look at that? Check with a physician, raise your concerns, don't quit. You're in charge, do not quit. You want to help this person, do not quit and give up. That's the biggest thing I can tell you, do not quit and give up. Get a second opinion if you've talked about it and nothing's happening or you feel like your concerns aren't listened to. If they're not offering you options, if they're not helping you figure out a task. I'm having such a problem and their solution is nothing. That doesn't help you. What else can we do? Looking at it, you could have 2 dementias going on at once. That's really hard to take care of. What do we do? This is my number. This is my email. I'm here all the time. Call me, email me, ask me anything. It might take me 2 days to get back to you depending upon where I'm at. But I will get back to you. Ask questions. That's what my job here at Horizon Health is is to answer those questions, direct you where we can go and help you. Questions for me on anything I covered today, or questions at all.
So you look at here and here, but you're more to parents, or?
So I actually live in Royalton, Minnesota. I grew up in Little Falls, moved to Royalton, that's where I live now. I work for Horizon Health, which their main office is here, but I can travel the whole state. We have a grant. And I also work with businesses, so like businesses will come in, like I was in Avon a week ago. They paid for my services to come in and work with their staff that were on the floor of some of the stuff and looking and going, hey, what's wrong with Joe? It was more behavioral with them, but yeah, I can go anywhere. I can talk to your church. I can talk anywhere. Whatever you guys need, just ask, because either we have a grant to cover it, or I can give you the cost or a free will donation to cover those things. But it's important to get the word out, and sometimes even just starting at the churches or starting with your family and saying, hey, we're just gonna have a sit down with this lady for 30 minutes. They don't want to listen to everything, they don't have to, but taking a piece. Usually families will be like, oh my God, I didn't know that, I'm so sorry. And look at you and go, I was really wrong to judge you, you know, because nobody knows this education. From what I've heard from families, and I could be wrong, but the ones that I work with is we got the diagnosis and we're sent our way. And there was no tools of, what do I do, you know, if they won't hop in the car? Well, I can help teach you how to get them in and out of the car if they refuse to get in, because what happens when you get to the doctor and they won't hop out of the car? Or what happens when they're refusing to take their meds? And what do we do? So, yeah, absolutely. I'll go pretty much anywhere, and if not, I can find somebody that is in that area.
So do you help younger, like,
Early onset?
well, not even early onset, but you, with I guess it would kind of be more pearls with
The depression? Yes. Depending if they fit, we first have to do I do assessment of depression with them and talk with them. And then if I'm not for sure on the fit, I work with a psychiatrist right now, and he would give us the advice of yes, they'd be appropriate or not, but yeah.
Do you ever go to like schools to let?
We
there's a
have
lot of
not
high
so far,
schoolers
because we've been
that-
getting a lot of phone calls for the elderly.
Okay, just
So.
kind
And
of
I'm
curious.
the only one
'cause-
that doesn't, so.
So you do a one-on-one in the phone? Do you go to
Yes,
phone? So-
yep, same thing with caregiver support. So if you felt that your loved one was maybe having a little bit of depression or loneliness, or it can be overwhelmed, I'm totally stressed out, we can do that program for stress, okay? Then I also do caregiver support, which means I come to you, you tell me what you're struggling with, and we talk about, hey, I could give you an education on respite. Where is there respite? What does it look like? My dad's not doing activities. I can teach you different things to do. We're having trouble getting dad in the shower. And just those little things, and I can support you through that whole journey. And sometimes it's easier than being in a big group, and my dad's situation is different than the whole group that's here. What can we do?
Michelle, do you have some business cards that we could?
I
hand
do.
out?
I have to go up and run and get them, but I will. But yeah, this information, Zach, was on my business card. But yeah, I can get those for you. Other questions? What?
It's on the sheet,
Yep, it's on the sheet.
the last page.
Very last page on your handouts.
Do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking about sending it to, my.
Oh, absolutely. Other questions for me? It can be as little or as late too, or it can be a Zoom. So you say, oh, my sister lives in Florida. We can do a Zoom and have a discussion. I can do that easily. So that's the nice thing with technology. Yes.
Do you work with doctors to train them?
So I have been really trying really hard. It's very interesting because certain doctors are a little bit more open to things than others. I've been to Fairmont 3 years ago. I went down 3 or 4 years ago. The whole town of Fairmont is so welcoming to dementia, and the doctors listen to me, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they still will email me and say, this is working really good. In this area, I'm trying really, really hard, but we're trying to work on silos, because you know what it's like in a small town. Piers is Piers. Little Falls is here, and Royalton is here, and you don't cross the lines. You know, you don't. That's just, I mean, that's common central Minnesota lingo. So working with them instead of against them. Like I told them, you get the diagnosis, oh, I want to come and support. I don't need you to fill my beds, because I can do that without me talking. I just want to help families, because it's the same thing when you're looking at facility. I want you to pick Horizon Health, but I'm not going to tell you to pick, because I'm going to tell you these are the questions I would ask when you're out looking, and I want you to pick the best fit for your loved one, because that's what it's supposed to be. You know, that's trying to get the doctors. Essentially, it's pretty good. I work with Mary Lee Krager. I worked with her, Dr. Dumpy, and I work together. That he's come up and we've worked on things. But getting into St. Gabe's and stuff, I work with Dr. Neifert. He is a psychiatrist over there. But so far, just slowly getting in. So if you want to spread the word and you want to talk to them, I would appreciate it, because I think sometimes them hearing it from the community of, hey, maybe you should do this, would be great. Because they haven't, the same thing with nurses. Nurses are your first admission when you come in. They're there, they know, they can read off of somebody, and they don't know. Like to leave people alone. My grandma was left alone in the clinic because the family's like, we have to talk to this doctor. Well, they didn't have emails back then. So they pulled the doctor out. My grandma took the scalpel out of the room, went home, and she was shaving her arms with a scalpel.
Oh my goodness.
And we're like, where the heck did she get that? The nurse left her alone. We were talking with the doctor. The nurse left her alone after she got information and didn't think, oh my gosh, there might be a problem. She has frontal temporal. So yeah, teaching those people as well is huge. Yeah, I like to work with kids too. We put a call in, hopefully once COVID is a lot better by next fall, of working with peers and Little Falls, Upsala schools, because they do a lot of volunteering for seniors, especially the day of caring, and knowing the changes of normal, not normal aging, and how do you approach somebody, and how do you not take it personal that this senior says you're fat, you know, because that is a big deal. I want them to be in healthcare. I want them to love the elderly, and so doing some of that education I think is huge too.
When you talk about this COVID dementia kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, COVID is hitting all age levels. Are we worried about that dementia hitting younger people as well then because of?
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately, with TIPA, when I was at TIPA's conferences, there's a lot in the eastern part of the United States right now that are really seeing it. And you think of different places that were hit first. Even over in China, they're seeing that major spiral of it. So, and I can do a training on that. I could, if you guys are interested in anything on your surveys that I gave you, put on there. You know, we want to do a whole series on COVID, you know, that we do a training on that. I can do that. I can do on just Lewy Body, on just vascular, anything like that. Or, you know, how do we keep our brain active? I can do that as well. So anything that you would like, please let me know, because pretty much anything I can train
So
on.
you will come into churches and do things like if we put up in our church that you're coming, you would do that then?
Yeah. Yep, you just let me know what you kind of want. Give me a call. Just call this number here. Ask for me, and we'll talk about kind of what you're looking for. And I would come out and absolutely. Yeah.
So you hear a lot of people say word finds, word puzzles, that type of thing. Does that really help?
It
the
does.
brain?
It does, but he also has to be alike. Like,
Well, true,
I
yeah.
hate numbers, so Sudoku would not be my
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
It'd be like
no.
forcing me to do it.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love like the words and stuff, but for me, it's even doing exact opposite. Like this morning when you got dressed, how many of you got dressed top to bottom?
No, you
No.
go bottom to top.
Bottom top.
How many of you were bottom to top?
Yep.
How many of you are half dressers? You put something on, you go get a sip of coffee, you finish. Okay? That's really important, and I'll tell you why. Because you've had that habit since you've probably been about 5 years old. And now you come into a nursing home or assisted living, or someone's taking care of you. Nursing assistants are trained to get you dressed top to bottom.
Oh boy, let's hope I'm never there.
That's why I talk about person-centeredness. That's important. So here at the Harmony Houses, we've redone care plans because it's who you are. I don't care. There's no right or wrong to get dressed. I just need to know how you normally do it. Do families know that? No. So when you're taking care of dad could be the exact opposite of you because you're getting dressed like you do it. How does dad normally do it? How many of you ever watched dad? Dad put the shirt on first? How many watched mom? Does she put the shirt on first? How does she get undressed at night?
Haven't done it for a long time, so.
Right? How do they get undressed at night? How do you get undressed? Do you pull your pants off first if you do that in the morning? Or do you pull your shirt off first? Is it opposite? Those are things to really start thinking about because it's important, but changing that routine. So I get dressed bottom to top. Then the next day I get dressed top to bottom. Because if somebody's gonna need my help to get me dressed if I have dementia, I can do it both ways. It's really, really important to change your routine. We're routine-y people. very,
Oh, yeah.
very routine-y people.
Aren't we?
And that really affects our brain when we have to do something different.
Sure.
Completely different. She threw OneDrive at me, which none of you probably know what it is, but I'm still struggling because it's completely new and it's frustrating. And it's not because she tried to make it frustrating for me. It's different. It's something completely different. Just like if you've always made potato pancakes this way and you can't get potatoes anymore, how are you going to do? How are you going to change what you've normally done? So I change my routine all day long. I usually get to work always the same time, but how I walk around the building is different. Trying to keep your mind as active as possible. Changing up just the simplest of routines. I'll try to brush my teeth with my left hand instead of my right.
Jeez.
Because do I want somebody sticking their brush in my mouth to brush my teeth? Heck no, I want to learn both. I can do both. If I can do both, there's a good chance I'll remember something.
Oh, I'd have toothpaste all over my face.
You know, same thing with what you prefer, which leg goes in the pants first. My significant other laughs at me because like I critique him all the time because that's what you do when you train. You know, you bring all this stuff and you're like, huh. Well, he'll put his left leg in first, but when he takes it off, he'll take his right leg out first. I'm like, you are so odd. So odd. You know, where it's always left. How I take it off, always left. Do you know that about the people? Do you know that about
Is
your
that
loved ones?
because you're right-handed?
Actually, so I didn't get to tell you guys today, but we have a dominant side. We all have a dominant side we prefer. It's usually what we chew with first. It's usually what we step with first. But it doesn't mean it's your hand you write with. I am right-handed dominant, but I am left side dominant. That's where I want people to stand. So like when you're coming to talk to me, I feel much more comfortable with people on my left-hand side
That's
than my
weird.
right.
So
And it's
do I.
important to know about people, practicing. But on my left side, I do much better. So when my significant other drives, I can have a great conversation with him and I feel like we're getting through because he's on my left side, right? What side do you think is for him that he listens really, really well?
Should be the right side.
You would hope so, but it's the left. And so I'm laughing, going, oh, he's listening. I feel really good. He's in my comfort zone. And his is the same as me, left. So we really struggle with that in a couple relationship. It's the same thing when you're taking care of people or your mom. Everybody has a side that they prefer somebody on. We'll mess with it upstairs, the people that have dementia, and I'll say, okay, the approach didn't work. Okay, staff, I want you to sit on this side and talk to him. And they're focused, they go, oh my God, yes. Just because they're right-handed doesn't mean that's where they want somebody. It could be left side dominant. Do you know that? Great example. Will you come up here, Lori, so I can show you?
Oh, boy.
There you go, Lori.
If you
I
have
did all
somebody,
morning.
you have somebody who's very, very frustrated, one, you should never stand over them. You should get down. But if I'm standing here, I'll ask, Lori, do you feel me comfortable standing here? Or here? Where would you like for me to talk to you? Here? Or here?
I think I prefer you to my left.
Huh. You will find a really interesting that they'll focus on you more. They'll hear what you're saying. They won't feel intimidated. It's very important to be on that side. That is that side that makes them feel comfortable. We all have it. We all have it. How our desks are arranged is huge. I had a director here a couple of years ago. I couldn't figure out. I'd go in the office, ask for something. She'd never give it to me. She'd be like, yeah, I'll get it for you. And I never got it. I'm like, this is not working. And Tipa goes, hey, I want you to see what side dominant she is. Well, you walked in her office was facing like you were. Her chair was over on the right side to talk to her. She was left side dominant. So every time I sat in the chair, I wasn't gonna get anything. So I moved the chair. I went in there and go, I have a question for you. Move the chair. And I said, this is what I need. I got it within 2 hours. I'm like, oh, this works. Okay, I'm gonna try it with my children. So my children had a tendency to not listen what was for supper, to throw something in the oven. I don't know why they didn't want to help mom. But I figured out that of my children, 2 are right side dominant, yet they're left-handed. And the one that's left-handed is right side dominant. And when I stood on those sides, they would get the stuff done after school. When I didn't, they did not. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess with it. So I do mess with it here in the office a lot with people, and they don't even know what I'm doing. But I want wanna see.
Now we do.
I wanna see, because it's really important for me to see, is this really true or is this not? And you'll find that the studies show it is. We have that preference and it stays all the way through. So, thank you. Other questions for me?
So, okay, are you telling me right eye dominant?
Yes.
When I had my eyes checked, she said, no, you're now left eye dominant. Is that anything to do with anything?
You know, some people say it does. What I've seen that I usually go off is what they chew with first and their leg. And then where they feel me comfortable. If you can ask them, you can feel it. You can absolutely feel it. Like my mom, she is right side, completely right side. She will actually turn her body when she's talking to me to make sure I'm on the right. I'm like, oh, she's giving me a hint, even though she doesn't even know what she's doing. She turns. We tend to have a tendency to do that when we're talking to our spouse. You'll see us turn if they're not on the correct side. So watch yourself. Play with it. It is so much fun to play with. Same thing with what colors you wear. I'm going to try to do a series on just the senses, but people that have dementia, this color isn't too bad, but if you wear black, you look like a big blob to them because their vision changes. If you wear white, you also look like a blob, but if you wear bright colors, hot pink, neon green, bold colors, they respond well. This lady talked to me last week and she goes, my husband won't get in the shower. And I said, okay, what color's your bathroom? White. What color's your shower curtain? White. Well, okay. I said, well, what color that you wear does your husband compliment you on? And she goes, hot pink. I said, really? She goes, yeah. I said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go get a hot pink shower curtain and a hot pink shower mat, a rug, and a hot pink towel. Guess who went to the shower 3 times last week?
Wow.
They are attracted to certain colors. And she was so excited. And she goes, I'm even wearing pink now, like all the time. And I said, do you feel good? And she goes, yeah, he notices me. He sees me. So colors play a huge game into what they're seeing, what's going on. And those colors are they trigger them. They trigger the eye. They grab their eye. Like your green, though it's pastel-y, they will see that. It's drawing. But when you have these very neutral colors, it's hard, just like patterns. Patterns that make them curious, but it makes them kind of dizzy. So making sure that you're wearing the bright, non-bold things. Other questions for me?
So all these new scrubs that are out there, they're all.
I hate that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't get them. I try to make voices, but you also have to remember you're running a business, so you have to keep those clean, neat lines. I don't like scrubs in a nursing home, and I'll tell you why. I do know rules and regs of MDH like to say we should, but that doesn't feel home to me. It doesn't feel home, and a lot of times I'll get better results from people when I'm going in because I don't wear scrubs. I don't wear scrubs, but getting Minnesota Department of Health to see that people shouldn't have to wear scrubs is really, really hard because they have this standard of care, just like at a hospital. If you saw a doctor in jogging pants and a sweatshirt, most people would not consider him professional. But yeah, I see it all the time where like those crazy things, but then I see people wearing all blue or all black, or like doctors, they love to wear their name tag down here. Well, then they wonder when my dementia people come in, why they're grabbing somewhere they shouldn't grab. Well, it swings. And if it swings and they don't know what it is, naturally they're going to grab at it. My necklace. Do not wear big necklaces upstairs if you're gonna be taking care of people, because what do? They grab it and wondering what it is, and they start choking you, and you don't wanna be choked. Or big dangling earrings. Those things, they're inquisitive about what's moving. Name tags, I usually wear them high and right. Because when you shake hands, I give them a visual, and there's my name tag, and they can read it if they want. I don't have to tell them all the time. They've got a reminder right here. Does that make sense? Other questions for me? Did you learn today?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Would it help if we did another series, do other things next month?
Yes.
Or in January? Yeah? Okay, perfect. If you have questions, feel free to email me, call me. I'll try to answer anything I can. If I can't, I'll make sure I find help for you, okay? have a good afternoon. Thank you
You too,
very much.
thank you, you're amazing.
Thank you.